Anyway, I found that interesting. I appreciate that you have your YouTube plaque behind you.
Oh, yeah.
That's really cool. Is that the 100,000 subscriber plaque?
That is the 100,000 subscribers. Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
When did you hit that? How long after you started your channel?
It was about, it's a good question. It wasn't very long. It was a little over a year, if I remember correctly. Um, about maybe a year or 2 months, 3 months, something like that. The growth of the channel has just been absolutely massive, way beyond my expectations. Because when I started, I actually didn't do much research. I think if I had done research, I probably wouldn't have started, because I would have found other channels out there, like City Beautiful, for instance. That is a great urban planning channel run by an actual urban planner as opposed to me. Um, but but I was just out there to tell the story of why we moved to the Netherlands. And what happened was the YouTube algorithm sent it out to Dutch people. And that was never my intention. I never intended Dutch people to watch my content. I didn't think they'd find it interesting, because this is just talking about their city. They already know all this stuff, I thought. Well, it turns out, just like, we've been talking here that Americans are completely ignorant about how their city is run and financed. Well, that goes for everybody in the world. Most people never think about this stuff. They never have to think about this stuff. So a lot of people here in the Netherlands who had never lived anywhere else looked at my videos and they're like, I had no idea that was special. I had no idea that was a thing. I had no concept of it. In many of these cases, a lot of these people, their only exposure to the United States is movies and TV shows, right? So they have no concept of what it's actually like to live there, just like Americans have no concept of what it's actually like to live in the Netherlands. And so the channel really took off with Dutch people in the early days. And that was really eye-opening to me, to be honest. And then after that first year, I started expanding the channel, because what I had done, I sort of told the story in the first year of why we moved to the Netherlands. I'm not totally done, but the things I wanted to say were said. And so then I started looking at this and said, well, a lot of these insights that I have about why walkable cities are better comes from all of the things I've learned over the years about urban planning, and especially from Strong Towns, the nonprofit organization in the U.S. that is really focused on building better cities in the U.S., cities and towns. And so then I started taking the channel and saying, well, this stuff was all new to me over the last 20 years. So it's guaranteed to be new to other people as well. And so I wanted to make videos about some of those urban planning fundamental concepts that my cat is sleeping here, so he's not going to get in the way. That there were these fundamental urban planning concepts. And what was interesting is that I was a little bit nervous about doing it, because I built this channel of, at the time, almost 100,000 subscribers, of mostly Dutch people. I think they were like 60-70% of the audience at the time. And now I was going to start talking about some of these different concepts around urban planning and around the concepts brought by Strong Towns. And I actually, again, didn't think they'd be interested. But as it turns out, not only were the Dutch people generally interested in it, there were a huge amount of Americans and Canadians that didn't know this stuff either. And that has really struck a chord with a lot of people, because what I'm hear literally every single day from people who email me or DM me or comment on YouTube is that I wasn't the only one that had the feeling that things weren't right. Going to these suburban places, you'd always been told you'd grow up, you'd have a family, you'd move to the suburbs. This is what prosperity is all about. But it never quite felt right. And I didn't know why. I couldn't put my finger on it. I didn't have the vocabulary to talk about it. And I hear constantly from people exactly that. Like, wow, this has suddenly crystallized all of these things I've been thinking for years. I just didn't know how to say it. I didn't have the words to express how I felt about this. And that has really taken off. And these days, the majority of my audience is American and Canadian. And I think Dutch is down to 15 or 20% now. So it's been really, really interesting to see how this has all gone, because, again, this all just comes from my own life experiences, living in all of these different places and traveling to all of these different places. And it really opened my eyes to it. And as you said a little earlier in this conversation, that travel is a luxury that's not available to a lot of people, and it will never be. And so the next best thing I can do is to share my experiences and to show as much of this on video as possible, so that, yeah, the best thing is to be here. The second best thing is to see some, non-dramatized content that shows you what it really looks like.